my first meeting at Antioch I really wanted to go to Antioch. It's really the only place I applied to. I think Penn State was my fallback. I was interested in Hampshire, but Hampshire was just starting out.
He grew up in Pennsylvania. I think his father was a theater professor. And the way he described him reminded me a little bit of my father, of people's descriptions of my father, that he was a kind, nice man who did good work.
Well, my parents actually met at Columbia Teachers College, but their major was theater, and they were pursuing a career in theater for about 10 minutes. And my father went to corporate America, worked for some big corporate Defense Department projects. Then he was in Cincinnati working on the SST, supersonic transport, and Congress cut the funding, and he said, damn it, I'm going to go back to my original love. And he got a job at Thiel College in Greenville, Pennsylvania, in one-man theater department. Now, when I grew up, my parents were always in community theater, even some semi-pro stuff in Pittsburgh. And I always thought, I took it second. That was their thing. And I really wanted to be a visual artist coming out of high school. I went in for my first co-op, and I wanted to go to the Museum of Modern Art in New York. There was a co-op there. And my advisor, I don't remember who he was, but he was fabulous. He said, I'm looking at your background. You should go to the Long Wharf Theater in New Haven, Connecticut. And I listened to him and I went. And then I did, and even that first semester, I was in a one act that Dallas directed. It was a Tennessee Williams one act of some sort. I remember being proud of my ability to vomit. Fake. So that's it. I went out theater for the New City, Antioch, London. We can, some of their fabulous things. And then I said, oh man, Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey Clown College. What a trip.
How did that come?
Well, I'd seen it.
Were you still at Antioch then?
Yeah.
So that was sort of a co-op job?
No, it was, I was going to build it into my curriculum.
Uh-huh.
But what was it that drew you? What was it that made you think this was something fabulous?
I'd seen it on 60 Minutes in 1968. Now, I attended in 73. And later, I met a producer at 60 Minutes, and she got to tell Don Hewitt the story. She said, oh, Don loves stories like that, where it influenced my life. I don't know what it is. I grew up going to Stratford, Ontario, on Shakespeare. That was what clowning was to me, the rustics and the fools in Shakespeare. And it's just something about it, 1968, 1972, 73, when I went there, it was like, this is so different. And in my slide, I have that. Should I show some of those quickly now, Barry? I have that picture. Let me see if I can get into it, because I think it kind of answers this question. Yeah, I remember one of the many funny things that my mother ever said when it became evident that I was getting the show, and this is show business, it's not theater. There's a lot of theater in it, but it's popular entertainment. My mother said to me, this is great, I always thought you'd do something more secure, like being an artist. Inspiration. I had this I saw Jim Morrison, The Doors, but I had this album cover with these strange performers. And then Bob Dylan, Mr. Tambourine Man, And if you hear vague traces of skipping reels of rhyme to your tambourine in time, it's just a ragged clown behind. I wouldn't pay it any mind. It's just somehow those things resonated to me. And here's my dad. The lady's not for burning. I don't know where that is from or how old he was. And there he is directing Fiddler on the Roof. I didn't even know he did Fiddler on the Roof. I don't know if I was around. I always thought Fiddler on the Roof was so cliched. My dad was Jewish, my mother not. But I always thought it was so cliched. I was never interested. And then I went to see The Fiddler in Yiddish that Joel Gray did. Fabulous, fabulous. That guy's name is Lou Jacobs. He was the famous Ringling Brothers clown. He actually designed this makeup that I have on. 3 different types of clowns: white face, Auguste, which means kind of a buffoon, and then the character, which is like you're playing a character. So my second co-op, I think it was my second, was Theater for the New City. And my friend Adele Robbins turned us on to going there. And here I am. I'm still direct a clown workshop with them every year in June. And just and here these are the Supreme Court. They're overturning Roe, and we turn them into. I gave them the bits that they're doing here, and that's Alex Bartanyev, George Bartanyev's son. He's a wonderful actor, but it's a great street theater. It's political theater, theater for the news. Just one quick acknowledgement back to my Antioch days. Terrence Smith, who I met in Antioch at Long Wharf, and I don't know if you know anything about Taryn or ran into him. He and I did a version of the Phantom Tollbooth on the campus. We started in the golf course. We went into the building. I directed it. Taryn wrote it. He told me, he said, we got to get permission to do this. And he contacted the Norton Juster Foundation. We got permission. What did I know about that? I don't clown much anymore, but after the pandemic, I serve on the board of the Bindlestiff Family Circus, and I did some clowning in 2022. They did a show called Flatbed Follies, where they went into the most COVID-affected neighborhoods in New York City and did this circus show. It was pretty cool.
Michael, how do clowns decide who they are?
So the secret to clowning is to be honest and to be yourself. My wife is laughing about something. She's my best audience, by the way. I love surprising her the few times that I still perform. I don't do much. It's about honesty. It's about not, being subtle. It's about breathing, but really you are yourself. That part of yourself that comes from inside. There's a magician I do, and yeah, that's me.
Do you choose the persona of the clown, or does somebody assign it to you? Does it change over time?
That's an interesting question. And it can evolve, and it does evolve over time. It's a discovery. It's very much a discovery. And it has to be. Now, you can get advice. One important good thing that happened to me was at one point, a colleague, a fellow performer, described me as a clown. And that helped me considerably. It was an honest description. I worked so I worked at, I did clown college. I worked with some master circus clowns there, but I also did a lot of work with a guy named David Shiner. He's Bill Irwin's partner from Full Moon on Broadway. And he helped me to go from being a kid's performer to be able to do some stuff I could do in nightclubs for adults, like this magician. I saw a senior citizen, I'm a senior citizen, but at the time, a senior citizen magician, a woman from Russia. And she was so bad, but so beautiful and wonderful at the same time. She was my inspiration for this character, a magician, doesn't know how bad he is, but loves doing it. And I had some of these tricks I'd done for kids' birthday. I didn't do many kids' birthday parties, but there were kids' birthday party tricks. So yeah, it really is your own discovery, I think. This is a piece that I did at Joe's Pub with this guy, Mark Gindick, and I play the stagehand. And I come out, he's singing. It's done to the song, "The Wind," "Wind Beneath the Wind." It's a terrible song about the wind, and I just come out. I start by blowing in his ear, and then I like ruffle his like. I start subtle, and then I come out with the leaf blower. And it's about me messing with him. Fun. That's the other thing. It's got to be fun. Forget it. But it can't be too. It can't be too. I mean, it's big. It's clowning. It's big, but it can't be ridiculously big. I'm contradicting myself.
But out of control. Can't be out of control.
Yeah, it's got to be real. And this is what we do now. Here's Tina. I'll race through these. We did a party for big corporation with the name Consulting in their title. And I did two things for companies called Consulting last year. One was in DC and they work for the Pentagon, blah, blah, blah. And I said to one of the performers, do you know what it means when a company has the word consulting in their name? And they said, no, what? I said, it means they're evil. But they did, this was a Pier 17, which is a concert space, and we had a Coachella theme. So these artists are Coachella. We do all these parties at various New York Presbyterian hospitals, employee appreciation, and we did a spray paint wall. That's Queens, that's Lower Manhattan, graffiti. Last year, we did a paint within the lines thing. You can see people engaging in that. This is what we did Super Bowl Sunday this year. We were working for, I think it's such a small group, I can talk a little bit about some of this. I usually am not supposed to, but this is the company that broadcast the Super Bowl. So they did an after party with after the Super Bowl game. This was in Las Vegas. Right. So it starts out with the Elvis singing. My idea and Tina's idea was we want boy Elvises, girl Elvises, every ethnicity of Elvis. If we had more money, we would have flown Elvises in from the ceiling, but there was a limited budget. This was their idea. It was the event planner's idea. They called it their halftime show.
Oh, fabulous.
It was a flash mob. It was a surprise. Nobody knew that all these Elvises were going to stream out on the floor.
And this is, hopefully you'll hear the music on some of the other, just like, these are what you call performance art, different things. This is in a campus of a pharmaceutical company. This is for another multinational company.
So these are they real people posing?
Yeah.
And they actually move into the party?
Yes. Yes. They move.
Creepy.
They're great.
Creepy, but beautiful.
real
Now,
art pieces.
is that what you do? Do you
Well,
dream up the show and cast it, or are these things that exist outside that you happen to know about?
the latter. So we're curating
Uh-huh.
and we're
Got it.
trying to do something that fits their objective. Here's cookie decorating for one of those evil companies for their Christmas break. And here we're doing it for kids at a mall. It's arts and crafts. But these were 3D cookies. So last fall, I work with an advertising company, very creative people out of Seattle. And they were doing a project where they wanted it was on the field for the Seattle Seahawks, and this is the Kingdome here in the middle, which was imploded. And it's a big joke. It was like one of the worst stadiums ever, apparently. So they wanted us to build a puppet of the stadium. And this is a little bit of work in progress. You know, we show it to the Seahawks were actually very particular about how they wanted it portrayed. We had to shorten it, make it wider. We used up a lot of time creating it. So we're at the UPS store and this thing needs to be in Seattle the next day. And that's that's producing. It was on the phone with FedEx. It costs us $3,500, but we got it there. Some other, theme performers. Here's our ad.
Michael, were you ever a clown all the time? I mean, you were a clown and then you went into business? I mean, maybe you were only a clown in school.
No, I clowned quite a bit, and I don't know how to get out of this now. Oh, there. Stop it.
Ah. Wonderful images.
So we're learning how you speak of this, that you clown or you clowned.
I clowned. I would loved it. I did it.
Gigs here and there.
My first employer was Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey Circus. And then I was on my own doing freelance. One point, my first partner and I were doing a show. We did a country club in Connecticut, family show of some sort. They wanted us to come back and we couldn't do it. So we sent another couple. And then after they did the show, the client complained, they weren't as good as you. And I vowed to myself right then that I would never book another performer unless I was getting paid for it. Because why get grief if you're not making a few bucks? And I went for a couple of years without booking other people. And then at the time, this was the 70s, we were doing shopping malls for our show. And they would say, hey, can you do a circus? So those are really the two things that got me into doing business. Plus, I'm good at it. What's the secret of business? Same thing as the secret of clowning. I tell people, honesty. And Tina loves some of my sales techniques. And I can't stand selling. But sometimes, and there's certain, I've been doing this 50 years. I'm selective about what I do anymore. And there's certain people I couldn't sell if I tried. But then if I get an exciting call, boom, 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 I'm selling. But Tina's favorite thing is when I say, nah, you can't afford it. You don't want to do it. And
It's not going to be what you want. Don't.
yeah, it's not. Yeah.
I know what you
it's-
want and we can't do it. You don't have the money, It's
But
fun. And then they say, no, I think we can. we really want it. And sometimes they're right. Is that
Yeah.
right, Michael? Sometimes like, oh, okay, I can do
We
this.
we don't do much private work, but sometimes it's for very famous, not necessarily Hollywood types, but more the head business, New York,
Mhm.
hedge fund
Mhm.
people.
And then how do you come up with what you do for them?
I listen to them. It's really about what do they want. For years, there's a cute story involving that. For years, I did about 12 years, I did all the stuff on the Late Show with David Letterman as an agent, strict 10% agent. Wasn't like my business, but I enjoyed doing it. I appeared a couple of times, got to put my friends on, but there was a woman who I wanted them to use. Her name's Grinder Girl, and she dressed in metal, and she had a grinder, and she put it on the metal, and sparks would go flying out. And I worked with the writers, and the writers said, my good friend, he was a lovely person. He said, "Nah, it's not our thing because Mr. Letterman doesn't want to get into anything that's all prurient or lascivious." And I said, "No, this isn't. This is tongue in cheek, completely tongue in cheek, like Chris Reeves doing Superman." And they booked her, Kiva, and she got like 10 years steady work after that. Health insurance,
Wow.
She was on every time he did Is This Anything, or Know Your Cuts of Meat, or stupid tricks. He'd always have Grinder Girl and another woman, Anna, who did hula hoops. And it was just his
And
personal.
the whole career was with Letterman?
Hers, no, she had a whole career, and
Oh, out other stuff.
she's actually a lovely costume designer now, and
Uh-huh.
fashion designer. She's great.
Hmm.
You
Wow.
can't be Grinder Girl for a lot of years.
But say more about how you come up with the idea for what to do for your hedge fund person who's giving a birthday party for his wife or whatever.
Okay,
Or
here's one. This is funny too. There's a guy, I won't name any, not Ken, but he had an apartment on Central Park West, and he had the same apartment next door that was empty. And his daughter was a preteen then, and this is a famous guy. And we met with him, and he said, "I want to turn it into a haunted house. Money is no object." Guess what? So we took him at his word, and we do these, but Tina's integral and all, especially because Tina, by the way, was had a career in Hollywood as a designer. So we came up, what was our first budget? 100,000 or something. So the guy, money is no up. Can't spend that much. So we did a good one for like 40
We have
grand.
real Broadway talent, by the way, which we still try
Yeah.
to get
We had
in there.
fabulous. It was, and for 40 grand, we did something really. And we came up with the ideas. It's like we had this guy, Todd Robbins, who does a seance. He had an off-Broadway show, super success, super reviewed in the Times. He had a room doing a seance. We had these different puppets, like skeleton puppets, a comedian, Bradford Scobie, doing the skeleton puppet. We had a mummy in a closet. And the decor stuff is what we did, and what our secret was is talent. Use really good actors. And that's what we do. A lot of people try to skimp and save money. And how I get ideas, I've got a lot in my database, a lot in my head, but I also know who to network with. It's the same as any kind of show, or doing film or TV. You really have to know who to call, I think. Sorry, I'm babbling.
No, it's good. Thank you.
obviously I love it, or else with my vast wealth, I'd be retired right now. Who's laughing?
But I imagine the figuring out is fun.
It's stressful and fun, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
You
How
really
did you
have-
build, how did you build the haunted house?
Well, we had Tina can talk about it. We had an empty apartment to deal with. Oh,
And
really?
we were tearing everything down. It's really interesting you asked that because we used Roscoe, we used stage paint for it, you know, which is really Roscoe, you know, anyway, flat black, so like it absorbs the light and everything. So, I mean, you know, I studied at Hampshire theater design, and that was the only marketable skill I had when I got out. That's why I ended up in film. I could draft something. I could draft some away doors or something. But anyway, so we just did some cheap things and glow in the dark things. You know, you turn off the lights and you have one light. You know, a haunted house is kind of fun and easy to do. And then a smoke machine we rented, and but the
John
fun stuff,
Bundy,
yeah, the fun stuff was
magician.
really, we got a magician, some cutaway stuff of like a talking head on a kitchen block. You know, like they didn't like, and that blew their minds. And he just happened to have this gag, you know, which is an illusion in his garage. We're like, don't you want to pull it out?
And he had,
And he's like, sure.
and he
So
had
did
projection.
projections. Yeah, I did projections, and that was fun. With I still have. If you want to borrow them, I'll send them to you. These good projectors.
They're like the holograms from Disney's Haunted House. And the kitchen we turned into Sweeney Todd.
And this was all for his teenage daughter and
Yeah.
her friends.
And
Yeah.
her friends and his friends. He brought some friends over too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
So
They
yeah.
And
must
then
have
how long
loved
did it stay up after?
we tore it down right away.
But the
Oh,
thing that happens sometimes, and this is what we love when this happens, like Michael and I had to sit there and listen to the improv of the skeleton. He's so funny. My God, we were just on the floor trying not to laugh in the closet just so we could hear him gag on these people as the skeleton. And the kids ended up loving him the most too, of course, like the real little kids.
It was a-
they're probably
it was-
still talking about it when they get together.
Exactly. When we can entertain ourselves, we're good. We're usually very, very good.
Yeah, hiking is a big part of your identity also. And where did that come from and how does it manifest itself?
well,
Are
we
you
used
going to go to Everest? You going to go clutter up Everest?
no, I know too much. We always went to national parks when I was a kid. You know, my dad was teaching, we'd go to Winnebago, go out west, and I always wanted to go as far as I could on that hiking trail until I had to come back and eat my mother's dinner. So as I went on, there's a list in the Catskill called the 3,500. That's the 35 mountains that are above 3,500 feet. There's one in the Adirondacks called the 46ers, 46 mountains above 4,000 feet. I am currently and sadly currently president of the Catskill 3,500 Club, which is a monstrous amount of work. People are so passionate about it. And then my son Brad and I climbed Mount Rainier. That was when I was 64 years old, which was about 7, 8 years ago.
And
so
when we
you-
talked to you a couple days ago, you said that you were going to be eclipse chasers from now on, having experienced the totality.
Yeah, Tina. We went up to Lake Placid where it was total. And
Yeah.
we both said it's one of those things. Well, maybe we'll go to Spain in 4 years.
No, Iceland in 2.
Okay.
Reykjavik. I mean, I'm serious. Like it was so wonderful. If anybody ever has that a chance to experience it, highly recommend it.
Well, everybody here, Iceland in 2 years. With Elvis on the side. Oh, okay, what do we have? Paula and I met Michael in 2011. We were going around to alumni in New York, Los Angeles, Yellow Springs, because we thought that the theater had seen so many people, Antiochians, come through there. And they were theater majors, or they had girlfriends or boyfriends, or they helped build a set, or were in a play they didn't expect to be in. And so it was a large number of people, and people who've had fond memories of their time at Antioch. So that was our thought. And Risa Grimes at the college bought into it. And so she set up meetings with alumni all over, in these different places. So New York City was our first meeting, and Michael.
Barry and I stayed in the Chelsea Hotel. And we held open house while we were there every night. And people came,
Yes.
not just to
Yes.
see us, but because they wanted to visit the Chelsea Hotel.
Well, I think they had fond memories of us and our fathers, and
Yeah.
And some couldn't come to the meeting, so they came. And so we had 2 or 3 nights, we had visitors, and it was great fun. So Michael was there at the meeting, and there were maybe 25 people there, and we went around,
Saying
I
what
think
we
we
did.
described the situation of trying to save the college. And Michael offered, he said he had I don't even know I can't remember exactly what he had, but he could do something to further the college reopening. And we didn't pursue it. We did not have the means to do much of anything. But, and my question to him will be, in the end, what might he have suggested we do? The college reopened, the alumni bought it. And if we had known then what we know now, might not have done it. But we're glad that we did, and it's continuing to stay open, and we're very supportive of the efforts there. And the theater people have been wonderful, all of you and your friends.
I should say first that we made our fundraising goal for the theater, and the college is committed to a program in the coming year, which is fantastic. I mean, it's the first time since Barry and I have been working on this that the college has really been part of it and wanted us to succeed and helped. Especially Brian, the provost. He's just been great. And of course, Chris is a miracle, walking around on 2 feet. He can do anything, I think.